you're the Vikings, you probably didn't want to see it. I mean, the way that Joe Flacco was playing, I don't think he was giving them any chance to even move the football at all. I was also kind of a Dillon Gabriel guy in the draft. Like, I thought if he was 6'3", that he probably would have been maybe the second best quarterback in this class based on how he actually performed. So I'm kind of intrigued. I don't think the Vikings are terrified of him, but I think they probably would have much preferred to see the washed up, old guy that they knew exactly what he was going to bring to the table, because there is some element of, like, how do you prepare against a guy who's never played before?
Matthew Collar there of Purple Insider in the previous segment. I smell panic.
Sounds it. I think they're a little bit concerned about the unknown of Dillon Gabriel. I think they're a little bit concerned about how beat up that offensive line is. I think Myles Garrett poses a lot of threats. This is a winnable game for the Browns.
I still don't know about that. Like, I guess theoretically, if the change, if the intent of the change, which is we're going to try and spark the offense. We're not going to turn the ball over because Dillon doesn't do that or didn't do that in college. And we're going to move him around more, which means we're maybe going to take some of the pressure off the offensive line. He's going to get the ball out quick, which is going to, okay, if that happens, very winnable game. But I think whereas Carson Wentz is the ultimate boom or bust, I think Dillon Gabriel's somewhere in the middle there. I think. I don't know definitively. And I don't know how anyone can be that overly confident simply because he's a third-round pick. That doesn't mean, by the way, we should be down about this game. But this is a strength versus strength kind of matchup. Meaning your best thing is your front four is going up against their biggest weakness. Well, their biggest strength is their defense going up against your biggest weakness, which is your offense and certainly your offensive line. I think those things cancel out, but it is a wonky game because we know London games can be wonky.
Yep.
It's weird. Like the same things that I said going into the Guardians-Tigers game 3, where I was like, I just don't have a feel for this game. I feel very similar about this Minnesota-Cleveland game. Absolutely think it could be winnable. Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, nothing would surprise me, really. And I know I said that at the beginning of the show. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if the Browns were able to manufacture a positive environment where Dillon Gabriel was able to have some success, where Dillon Gabriel was able to move some sticks. Like, that wouldn't stun me, but it also wouldn't stun me if it was a comedy of errors. And if, the left tackle, which is the right tackle for the Browns, like, Jack Conklin going to play this game this week? Think that's anybody's guess. He was a full participant today, but I don't know that means that he's playing. Like, there's just too many unknowns. There's too many variables, and that goes for both teams. Like, really nothing would surprise me in this game.
So, all that being said, we obviously we got a little bit into Thursday Night Football, which is a great matchup. I don't think people expected the 49ers to have that kind of success. I feel like I was on the right side of that because I think McCorkle Jones has figured it out there. The one thing that was evident as I was watching that game, one, Mac Jones resurgent. I think that's real. I think he is a starter-level quarterback, and I think he'll be this next offseason. Well, everyone thought it was going to be Kenny Pickett in Cleveland. I think Mac Jones will be the Sam Darnold. If he plays enough games, we're going to go, he was really, really good. If we have our offensive head coach, whoever that might be, we'll give him a go and see now that Matt Patricia isn't calling plays for him, that Mac Jones has that chance. But really what stood out to me is watching Matt Stafford, who even at damn near 40 years old, can still really make some plays with his talent. And I started thinking about the trade between the Lions and the Rams. And at the time, the Lions basically were like, we need to reset the whole thing. We've been trying to win with Matthew for so long. We don't have the tools to give him. Megatron's retired. So many of the guys who won, and Ndamukong Suh wasn't there anymore. So many of the guys weren't there anymore. So from their standpoint, they needed to refill the coffers, and they just needed a quarterback to get them through till, I guess the idea was, we're going to take a quarterback at some point in one of these drafts. And then from the LA side of things, while they had been to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff, yeah, but you lost, and I think there was some worried about diminishing returns after the big payday, and they're just, for whatever reason, the relationship between McVay and Goff ceased to work. That was the thinking going into it. Now, some 4 years removed, Detroit is one of the powerhouses of the NFC, they have all those picks turned into a huge part of what they were able to do over the last 2 to 3 years. They've established an identity, which they've never had this kind of identity ever, like in my entire adult life. When they were good previously, it's like, well, yeah, you have Barry Sanders.
Yep. But
they weren't consistently good. Previously, it was, well, you had Matt Stafford and Ndamukong Suh and one or two other high-level. Of course you had this run, but it wasn't consistent. And they juggled head coaches because they juggled identities. And they've really found something with Jared Goff. Like, Jared's better now than he was in L.A. He is a completely reborn and set-free quarterback, so they have stability to the quarterback position. They have a roster that was rebuilt with that trade, and I think they're in their championship window for the next couple of years. And from LA's side, they have the ultimate trump card, which is we traded for Matthew Stafford to win a Super Bowl. We won a Super Bowl, and we're still very competitive with an older Matthew Stafford, who's not the same guy anymore.
And I think the other piece of that for LA is the fact that they've got Sean McVay, who's a really good coach, and that whenever Matt Stafford does decide to walk away, and I kind of expect it to be after this year, you feel pretty confident about Matt Stafford being relieved by a young quarterback under McVay, and that they could find a way to make that succession plan work. Whereas for Detroit, the big chatter this offseason was, okay, now that Goff lost Ben Johnson, what's he going to be able to do? What's this offense going to look like? And I think Goff, to his credit, has proven to the world, like, no, I'm not a system quarterback. I can elevate the play of the roster around me, and I'm with you. Like, I think the Lions can win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. And when that trade was made, I think it was only made because the Rams said, we don't believe that Jared Goff is a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. We made it all the way there with him, but they probably felt as if we made it in spite of Jared Goff, not because of Jared Goff. Whereas now, if you're Detroit, I think you look at Jared Goff being like, no, this is a dude that we know can distribute the football to Laporta and Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown, and it is an embarrassment of riches, and ultimately that's going to help any quarterback succeed and find success. But I'm with you. I believe the Lions are for real, and I think that they're in a Super Bowl window of their own. It makes me jealous as a Browns fan. It does, because like, how are these teams able to just seamlessly flip-flop, okay, everything works, and we're about our business in multiple playoff runs and competing for Super Bowls, and
I can tell you exactly how.
Looking for our quarterback still.
It's two things. It's leadership, and it's a lack of desperation. And the Browns far too often, and this is part of the Haslam ethos, but I think, sometimes the Browns have been aggressive to be aggressive, and sometimes they've been aggressive to be desperate. And it's really hard to succeed if there's an element of desperation. But that leadership thing, and again, this is where it is a little bit on Kevin, and it is a little bit on Andrew. But I just continue to go back to the Stafford Goff thing. I was trying to think of another example of any trade, period, in the NFL where a player was traded straight up for another player, or a cadre of picks and players where it worked out for both sides. Where, even if Detroit wins a Super Bowl with Jared Goff, Lions fans are going to say, well, we got ours too.
Right.
So we're good.
Right.
Neither side, anything that and by the way, if Detroit doesn't win with Jared Goff, it'll still be the most prolific run of Lions football in 50 damn years since they won a championship, 60 years, and since 1957. So, but I was thinking about Herschel Walker. That trade worked out for one team. It was Dallas. It was not Minnesota, who we never rushed for 1,000 yards for. Randy Moss going from Oakland to New England. Yeah, that one worked out for New England. Don't look into what happened for Oakland. The only one that I can think that kind of makes sense is Stephon Diggs to Buffalo for the 22nd pick, which became Justin Jefferson. But even then, the statute of returns for Buffalo, at some point they ran out because Stephon gave you a couple really good years, and then the bottom fell out, and he kind of became a pain in the ass, whereas Justin Jefferson is clearly the better player, and it's not like the Bills have had that much more postseason success than the Vikings.
The other piece of that one, too, is that, that's a receiver trade. The fact that this Rams-Lions one is a quarterback trade, and it works so well for both sides, you never see that, and maybe you probably will never see that again, because maybe this will change how teams view their own quarterbacks that they've got in their building.
But I legitimately cannot think of another absolute, true win-win trade, meaning like one over multiple years. I've seen it like the Brett Favre trade to the Jets. That worked out for a short time. It worked out okay for Green Bay too. But like in the end, Green Bay absolutely won that divorce, and the Jets ended up going back to being the Jets. Like even the Joe Montana thing. Joe Montana had 2 nice years in Kansas City. San Francisco went on to win another championship or 2.